All right, this is frozen water supply lines and how to fix it. In Alaska, because it's so cold, any standing water in the supply lines will freeze. There's a water main supply line right here in the street that comes from the utility company. And then every house has a loop. It has two lines that go to it. So one line has water going up to the house. It circulates through the house, picks up a little heat in the crawl space or basement or wherever, and then circulates back to the main water line there. This moving water is much less likely to freeze than water that's standing still, but sometimes it still freezes up. When one of these lines, see, this is the street and your neighbor's house and your house. When one of these lines between the street and your house freezes, your water pressure will drop to nothing. It'll start running just as a trickle. If that happens, turn the water on full blast and leave it on, because there's a chance that that trickle of water that is getting through there will be enough to thaw those lines, and the problem might fix itself without having to call us out there. So if you're getting any trickle at all, leave it on and see if it increases. If it increases, then that's a good sign. All right. If you're not getting any water, then the way that we thaw this, I'm going to show you a close-up detail of this, what it looks like inside the house here. Looks like this. Where the water supply line comes up in the crawl space or the basement, you'll have a copper line. It's usually a flexible copper line. It's smooth, but it's, bendable. It's not like rigid copper pipe. You can bend it if you're strong. The water supply line comes up out of the ground and goes through a pump. Grundfos is the typical pump. And these pumps are so quiet that you can't even hear that they're running. You put your hand on it, you can't tell it's running. They're super quiet. They have one moving part, zero contact. It's all done electromagnetically, spins a little impeller in there. They'll run for 100 years, never burn up. They're amazing. They're so quiet, you could never know that they're on. And they just plug right into the wall here, and they'll be bolted in to the pipes here. So the supply line will go through here, go through your little Grundfos pump, and then it'll come up here to a union where the two pipes are bolted together. And then it'll go back down to the street. The reason that you have this union here is so that you can unbolt those and break them and have them not touching. Once they're not touching, you can hook electrodes onto here and thaw these pipes out. So we have these electric thaw boxes that look kind of like a welding machine. And they got jumper cables, alligator clips that go on each side of this pipe. One will go here and one will go here, and we'll crank up the juice on that until you hear it humming, wah, like that. And it's putting so much electricity through there that electrical current is going out to the street, through the main line, and back up this leg and back to the thaw box. If you didn't disconnect this, then the path of least resistance would be for it to go from jumper cable straight up this short leg and back to your thaw box. You'd melt this pipe, you'd burn up that pump, and you might explode your thaw box. So you got to disconnect it right there. So you break the circuit and send that electricity down to the street. That electricity running down the outside of those pipes will heat them up like a stove element in an oven, and cause that ice to thaw out and your water to start running again. As soon as that gets thawed out, you're going to have water pressure from the street start blasting out of this disconnected union. So it's very important that you somehow isolate this by turning off valves before you thaw this, because you could get in a situation where you thaw it and it starts running, and then the pressure is so great here that you can't get those coupled back together. And then you flood your house. And then you're doubly screwed. So this is the basics of how you thaw this. You disconnect the union. You isolate the valves. You run electrical current through there until it melts the outside of the ice in the pipe, and water can start getting through there, and it'll melt the core of the ice. You let it run. Once you get it thawed and put back together, be sure to let your water run for a good long time so that anything in there is melted all the way, because who knows, you might have an ice slug all the way from the street to your house and back again. So it might take a lot of flow to melt it.